All right, who remembers this guy? This is the Lego Technic 8043 motorized excavator. And I recently rebuilt it. Underneath here, I've got 4 of the WeDo simple linear motors, I think is what they're called. There's a few different names floating around for those, but they're basically Power Functions M-size motors. And I originally built it with a Technic hub, and have since been testing it with the BUAs. And of course, we're using the BrickController app, and I finally picked one of these up to hold the phone. These are pretty standard. You'll see a lot of people using these. So let's see. Yep, I'm in drive, so it drives pretty good. And it brought back a lot of memories. It was a lot of fun to build. I'm short 1 and then 2 pieces on the back for the stickers. Everything else, these are original parts, original stickers. I mean, certainly not every single piece in here is original, but I was able to piece it back together and to power it up with Powered Up. And it's a little peppier with the BUA's controller. But you know, I'm wondering if it's a little too much. Let's switch over to this function where we can control these. And see, it struggles a little bit going up here. It actually struggles a lot more with the Technic hub. But some of these other functions, it almost feels a little fast. You can see like these universal joints are really kicking it. And I'm almost a little worried that it might do a little damage. So I'll probably just keep a Technic hub in here. The BUA's 3 is going to get used in a lot of places. So I just wanted to show that off a little bit. I've been having a lot of fun with it. This was definitely one of my. It probably is my favorite set. I mean, let's be honest here. I'd actually thought about doing a more in-depth video on this, but it's probably been done to death by now. I think it's a lot of people's favorite build. There's been people putting S-bricks in here to control with a controller, just like I'm doing, for quite a while now. So it's nothing new there, and no other substantial mods. So there's 6 functions. You got these actuators, this actuator, this actuator. That's 3. You've got each tread, and then you've got the rotation. So if you had 6 motors, which the BUAs can do 6 motors if you use 2 power functions and 4 powered up, you'd be able to get it all without having to flip the gearbox back and forth to select between those. So that might actually be something to work towards in the future. All right, so I'm going to set this to the side. And I also, for better or worse, put this monstrosity together. So that's my FlySky controller. And I'll point out that there is no batteries in here, because when you plug it into USB, it's actually powered from that. I actually think if there's batteries in here that it will try to charge them. I'm not 100% sure on that, but better safe than sorry. I took the batteries out. So this mount is just one of these guys. I've got it wrapped around here, and it holds it pretty good. I mean, this is actually pretty decent. I might actually get a good bit of use out of this. But if you have any suggestions on a better solution to try to mount it to this guy, let me know. But for now, this works a lot better than the rubber bands I was using. So we will be talking about this controller and some of the models I've been using it with and how they operate. But I also want to do some tests and see what other controllers will work with this, because it's a USB connection. I tried a USB joystick, and that seemed to work. I'm going to see what buttons work and those kind of things. But that's what today is. We're just I want to show you all the things I've found out so far, some of the questions I have, and just do some tests and see what all we can find out. Eventually, I might try to do a tutorial video on the BrickController app, because again, this is trains all over again. There's tutorials out there, but most of them don't have voiceover, which is a big deal to me, because it's hard to watch what's happening on screen when you're reading text at the bottom of the screen. Especially with this, they're scrolling through, doing things on the app real quick, and then there's text on the screen you're supposed to be reading at the same time. It just makes it difficult, and I haven't really seen anybody really explain some of the features. Like, let's just Oh, here's one. I asked a friend and he told me this. You can swipe right if you want to remove any of these. I had no idea how to delete anything in the app, and things were just piling up. So, I mean, you've got all these different options here. You've got simple toggle, that's just toggle on and off, so that works good for like LEDs and things like that. But these, I'm not even really sure how all these work and what different options there are for different controllers. So I'm really going to dive into this and see what all I can find out, and then possibly do a scripted tutorial or tutorial series. All right, so I wanted to show something I found with this model. This is the Ford Raptor a set, and I'm using the official BUIZ instructions to build it. But I had some issues with the steering. So let's go to the Ford Raptor BUIZ. Hit start. And that's the steering. And that is very promising. I'm really liking how smooth that is and how many steps there are in the proportional control. There's still going to be a little bit of lag, you know, so it's not perfect. I'm happy with that though. I think that's pretty cool. And then of course we got our this one's fairly zippy to drive around. It's kind of fun. But let me show you what I found after that. So for this test, I'm just using a anything powered up. I've tried it with you know, a Technic hub and a couple others, and it seems to be the same thing across the board. All right, see all that shakiness? I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm just barely turning. It doesn't know what to do. And I have other models that don't do this. What I'm thinking is just how loose, you know, this gear rack here. I mean, it's just bouncing around in there kind of. Maybe that is to blame, because I'm going to show you another model now that does work with a Technic hub and a large motor for steering. All right, so we're done with this model. Let me pull, might need this again. Set this to the side. Okay, now we have another powered up model. Starting to get all these mixed up. Maybe this is just 4x4. Okay. Let's see, tester throttle. Yep. And see, it's not doing the bouncing. Let me all right, so now we're upside down just like we were earlier. So it works okay. You know, it's not doing all the bouncing around that the other one was doing. I know one difference is, you know, you've got two connecting rods here. It just, I think it's a little more sturdy of a connection, and maybe that's the only difference. So this is something I'm kind of investigating, and because, you know, all these kind of things I'd like to have figured out before I start making more videos on the BrickController app and BUIZ and all this kind of stuff. Set this to the side. And we've got another little RC model. I saved this, right? Where's it at? Top Gear Rally. Play and turn it on. Okay. It's kind of fun to drive. Okay, so let's see how this steering is. And I'm sure all the steering on these is a little bit different. See, this isn't a rack and pinion like the others are. So that looks pretty good. So again, you know, I'm just trying to kind of figure this stuff out as I go. This one's it's kind of fun to drive around. It's certainly more fun with a real controller than it is with the Control Plus app for this. Like, it doesn't even, the speed slowly ramps up and it shows you like indicators on the screen like it's changing gears, but I think it's kind of lame. And now let's bust out a Power Functions Era set. You know, supposedly if I had an IR blaster, I could control the Power Functions IR receiver. We're not doing that today. And again, this is the one I went a little crazy with. There's a lot of extra wiring for lights. But this is the S-Brick Plus, and I purposefully put each of the motors that go to the front and rear on different channels just because that could be better for the electronics in here. I'm not really sure if it is in this case or not. And then, of course, this set has the only official Lego servo that I have. Let's see, how do I turn this on? So we'll see, we do have some proportional control on that. So let's get connected to it. Power Functions off-roader, play. Yep, okay, we're set up. And it doesn't sound happy about it, but there's our four-wheel steering and four-wheel drive. I think I probably have rechargeable batteries in here, which probably aren't quite as much juice as they should, but so it's fairly proportional. I think it's 7 steps for each direction. Yeah, but the S-Brick does fine for this. And I've also got some third-party servos that I've done some testing with. So we'll go through and start testing some of the components and things like that. Okay, so this is the other S-Brick. The one in the truck was an S-Brick Plus. This is a non-Plus. I got one of each on Amazon. The Plus was actually $5 cheaper. Go figure. All right, so we're lit up there. And yep, okay, so we got a simple toggle on the X button here. So if I wanted to turn the lights on and off, I could use this, so that's pretty cool. And then I've also got, this is a third-party servo, because I'm cheap. Because look, these guys are almost $100 on a lot of sellers online for the official one. It's actually not nearly as wonky as it was the other day. That's weird. See, did you see that? Okay. It's doing some weird chattering and stuff. So the problem is with these, they're not really set up to be proportional. So what I did just to, that's why I had the dead zone turned up here. So let's turn this up to like 83%, so just above a certain threshold. So what it's going to do is ignore this joystick until it gets to 80%. So pretty much all the way over. There's still some chatter, but you know, it's not going all the way back and forth like it was earlier. So I would really like, if any of you guys know of a third-party servo that is proportional, that's going to be important if I try to build the AirTech claw rig, which I've shown before on the YouTube channel PMC. He uses 5 servos in that build, and they were all official Lego servos, and so the steering would be proportional with the controller. And if I'm not mistaken, the other 4 go to pneumatic valves, so you're able to get a little bit of granularity there where you can kind of bleed the pressure out more slowly than just flipping all the way on and off. So that's something I'll be looking into a little more, and maybe I just want to, instead of using 2 Buiz 2.0s, I could use a 2 and a 3, and then use 4 of the powered up motors in servo mode for the pneumatic valves. I don't know how the space of that would work in the build or whatever, but you know, I'm not promising I'm going to build that one just because there's so much to it, and would probably have to do a lot of modifications unless anybody wants to donate for official Lego servos to me or wants to send me $400. You know, I'm kind of SOL on that. So as a last thing, I just want to test some different controllers. And also, I wanted to show this. This is the OTG adapter that came with my phone, the phone I'm recording on actually. But let's test some of these others. I bought 2 more on Amazon. I don't think either of these work. So let's unhook that. And this is an Anchor OTG cable. We got power, that's something. Okay, so this one does work. And you can see we got our X and again, that's all that this controller does currently is X and Y. So it's basically just the left stick of a dual analog. But that may change in the future. If it does, you will be among the first to know, trust me. So let's unhook this. This was one I bought in hopes of being able to charge and run a controller at the same time. Support for this is going to be all over the place for different phones and stuff like that. See, we got power, but we have nothing coming through. It's not reading the controller at all. So that's something to keep in mind. Apparently the Anchor one works pretty good, but again, it's all going to vary by your phone manufacturer and all kinds of things. Some phones I don't think even support OTG at all, so that's always something to research first. Actually, let's use the Anchor. That'll make this easier. So because they were being sold so cheap, I got the PlayStation PlayStation Classic consoles, kind of like the NES and SNES minis they were doing there for a while, but it's got a USB cable. So let's plug it in and see if anything comes up. So okay, we've got an X and Y axis on the D-pad, but it's you know, it's not going to be proportional or anything like that. Yeah, our buttons, looks like every single button works. So if if you wanted to do that, you could. I don't know about this. This is a really old grubby mouse. I'm just curious, you know, at this point. Nope, it just turns. Just is going to be a mouse for the phone, I guess. Yeah, this thing does not know what to do. None of the other buttons work. Okay, so just trying things out, you know. And this was actually the first thing I plugged into it because I was troubleshooting and couldn't figure out why things weren't working. So I went and grabbed just anything USB and came back with an older joystick. Let's plug this in. All right, so there's our X-axis, Y-axis, and RZ. That's when you can actually rotate it like this. So you could do some really cool stuff with this. I mean, just because you've got those 3 axes, you know, just on the stick itself. So let's try these other buttons here. Okay, we got a hat. Our hat button. Whoops, hat buttons work. Trigger does not work, right? Okay, that's me turning it. Oddly enough, no trigger. The one main button on here does not work. These 4 don't. We got, oh yeah, throttle. That's cool. Basically -1 to 0, so it's not, you know, where it goes from -1 all the way to 1. A couple other goofy buttons on the side here. So no trigger, but you've got the hat and you've got all 3 axes on the stick. So I'm going to keep that in the back pocket. That could be very interesting. If you have two phones, you could use two of these to control different hubs and have two together. That could be pretty cool. I think I've talked quite enough for today. There was a couple other things I was going to throw in, but just in footage, I've recorded like 40 minutes of footage by now. So so if you have any suggestions, if there's anything you want me to try, if I have it on hand, I'll be sure to try it. And anything I've shown here is going to be subject to change. One of the most, what really sticks out in my mind for the BrickController app is this guy, or I think there's a couple contributors, but I think it's mainly one guy, is working with BUIS components, Lego components, S-Brick. They had the IR working. I don't know if the IR still works, because, I mean, most phones don't have an IR blaster anymore, I don't think. You're working with tons of different phones, different controllers, and it's just the middleman between all of this stuff. So they're subject to the whims of firmware updates on the BUIS, or new things come out. So this has been a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed coming along for the ride. Thanks for watching. Remember to play well.